In this video, I'm going to share with you how I made $20,000 doing this one specific thing. If you're still in high school or you're in college or you just started working a job and you want to make some extra money on the side, this still applies in 2022, 2023, and will probably apply forever and ever and ever. Now, before we actually get into the skills, let me tell you a backstory about how I made this happen. I've always been into money and making money and starting little businesses. And in high school, I started noticing a trend, right? These iPhones were coming out and new iPhones were coming out every so often, and everyone wanted to continuously upgrade those phones. Well, I took notice of that and was like, well, what are people doing with their old phones? iPhones literally first started coming out, the 3G, the iPhone 4, the iPhone 4S, the iPhone 5. So some of you who are watching might not even know what those are and be like, what the heck are those things? Do those things even exist? Yes, they do. And essentially what I would do is I would go to these people who just got the new phone or they cracked their old phone, and I was like, hey man, I'll buy that phone from you. What are you going to do with it sitting in your drawer? I'll give you $100 for it. Little did those people know, I would go to eBay and then flip those phones and sell a phone that I bought for $100 for $300-$400 sometimes. And I started this business called Cash for iPhones. And I did this throughout high school and literally made $20,000. Now let me show you how I actually did it. I essentially asked the person, I'm like, hey, what model phone do you have? How many gigabytes do you have? Is it cracked? Is it not? And what carrier is it? And essentially all I would do is plug that information in on eBay and go to completed listings and sold items. And then I would literally get a list of recently sold items in the past week, 2 weeks, months, and see what that phone is selling for. And literally I would either offer them half of the value, a third of the value, and just completely lowball them to see what they wanted. So for example, this was an iPhone 4S. If I saw that my friend just got the new iPhone 5 and they completely weren't using that, I'd be like, hey man, what do you want for that phone? I'll give you $100. Literally I would, before I made that offer, I would go look it up and see those phones are selling between $250, $300. I would then take 5 photos, list the phone on eBay, and then sell it, right? Money hits my eBay account, I ship the phone, and boom, I just made $250 profit. And yes, this was pretty cool, right? It turned into a neat little business where I was making a few $100s. Some months I was making $1,000, but I wanted to grow it. And I didn't really know how because I was just doing it with friends and families and teachers and teammates and things like that. So what did I do? I turned to social media when Instagram was first starting, and I started an Instagram page called Cash for iPhone. And I essentially started following and unfollowing people, messaging people, hey, do you have an extra iPhone? And literally doing cold outbound reaches. I specifically remember this in 10th grade. I was probably 14, 15 years old. And then people started messaging me, hey man, I got this old phone. I want to get rid of it. And you'd be surprised. People would just literally have no idea what their phones were worth. And I would literally scoop those phones up, pay them $50, $100, whether they were cracked or new. Some phones I was paying $200-$300, but when the newer, bigger phones started coming out, like the 6 Plus, 6S, those phones you can literally buy and then sell for like $600-$700. I remember the biggest profit I ever made on a phone was an iPhone 6 Plus. It was like brand new condition. The person literally just didn't want it and was sitting there. I bought it for $150 and sold it for like $550. I made $400. Now, the lessons and skills I learned behind doing this business was number one, negotiating, right? Offering people lower prices and slowly working our way to that middle ground to buy the phone at a profitable price. I learned negotiating skills very early. I learned marketing, social media marketing, right? Making little flyers on Instagram. I would take little piles of cash and put like the 5 phones I had and put the phones on top of the cash and took pictures. So I was marketing the phone. I was like, hey, if you have an extra phone, an old phone, and you want cash for it right now, that was my thing, Cash for iPhones, right? Give you cash right now. So I learned negotiating skills, I learned marketing, and most importantly, the entire business model, which was flipping, right? Buying something low, recognizing, hey, this is worth X, I can sell it for X. So buying low, selling it for more. And you could do this literally with anything. You could still do this with iPhones. You could do this with watches. You could do this with shoes. You could do this with furniture. So I encourage you, if you want to make a little extra money on the side, start flipping something. And the best way to get good at this skill is focus on a particular product, whether it's cameras, watches, shoes, phones, microphones, glasses, right? Really get to know the product prices so you consistently know what you can pay for something and how much it's worth when you sell it. And sites like OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, Let Go, you can literally buy things on there that people don't want and sell them for more on eBay. Take this watch, for example. I paid $4,000 for this watch. I could have bought the same watch on OfferUp for $3,500. Now on eBay, they were consistently selling for $4,000, $3,900, $4,100. So that's a prime example of taking an OfferUp listing. I could have just bought it and put it on eBay and sold it for more and made $300, $400, $500. So all in all, in high school, again, I made about $20,000. I probably sold hundreds and hundreds of phones. And the reason I stopped doing that business was because I got into Shopify dropshipping and started my dropshipping business, which turned into my full-time business now, where I have a huge e-commerce store. So whether you want to start with flipping or you want to get into drop shipping, if you do want to get into drop shipping, go watch this video right here where I give you my exact strategies to start a 7-figure drop shipping business. See you guys on the next one. Peace.